Good evening. Welcome to PoliticIt. We're glad to have Chris Null with us from Salt Lake County,
Glad to be here.
County Republican Party.
Yeah.
You've been the chair now for what, 4 years?
Yeah, going on 4 years. This is my last year. Few months.
You know, it's interesting. The one place in Utah where we have term limits.
Yeah. Well, my wife loves term limits. It's been a long 4 years.
Yeah, I bet it has. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. I guess I could say you're kind of in the belly of the beast, right? In Salt Lake County there, but
yeah, it's the battleground. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about you. Some of our listeners may not know who you are, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, where you went to school,
Yeah.
What you do.
Okay.
Okay.
So originally born in California, moved to Arizona, lived there most of my life. About 14 years ago, just because of jobs and things going on, I came here to Utah. My wife and I came here. We had 3 days to find a house. We did, and we still live in that house now, and we love it. We live over in Riverton area. But I've always been interested in politics, and when I came out here, there was a sign near my house that said caucus, and I like, what is caucus? I didn't even know. Like, I knew the word, but I didn't know what it meant. And so I showed up. Man, I fell in love. I thought, this is the best representation you can get. And so I got involved, and then shortly thereafter, Count My Vote said, we're going to take that away from you. And I said, no, you're not. And I stepped up and I became the regional director for Salt Lake County with Keep My Voice back then.
Oh.
And so that's...
I was involved with that.
Yeah. I knew, I was very familiar with you, and I was kind of a new voice, but I stepped up. I had a couple friends who said, you could do this, and I did. And so we had, 300, almost 400 people volunteering in Salt Lake County, knocking doors, doing things, got very involved. Anyway, that's kind of how it started. And then one day, the former chair said, hey, Chris, I'd really love for you to run. I can't do it, family, things. And I said, I took some time thinking about it. And I said, you know what, I think I'll try it. I'll give it a shot. I knew it was a lot of work, but I figured, I really do love the party. I love what we stand for. And I mostly love that our delegates work so hard to identify the right candidate to represent Utah and Salt Lake County. And so I said, I'm in, and I did it, and here I am. So I absolutely love the system that we have.
So let's go back. Where'd you go to school at?
So I'm a DeVry guy. I'm an IT guy. Yeah, my background is IT. I've worked for Veritas, Symantec back when they were one, and I work for data protection mostly. And anyway, so I worked for a number of IT companies that are mostly out of California that, probably a little more left leaning, but good companies, great people, and I think we do really good things. So I love what I do, and that's my day job. And it's hard, for anybody, it's hard when you've got a day job and you're trying to do your politics stuff on the side. But I've been blessed to work for a company right now who's very supportive.
Yeah, and out there trying to protect people's information.
Yes. Yeah.
Those are kind of interesting debates that are going on right now. I had a bill that just got put down in committee, and one of the things I've been concerned about, maybe we could talk about just a little bit, is that I think the voter privacy laws that we put in place were probably mistaken. I think that transparency in elections is crucial.
Oh, transparency in elections. The election integrity relies on transparency. That's number one. Number two, the party exists to represent members of its body, of members of the party. If we can't understand who these people are, which we don't, we get names and we get addresses. We don't get phone numbers. We don't get emails. And I get all these complaints from people saying, well, the party never reaches out to me. Yeah, because we don't have any of your data. We don't know who, we can't afford to send you letters all the time. That's the most expensive way to communicate. And so people don't understand that. So to your point, yes, we need to have this data. When you sign up for, I always say, when you sign up for a gym membership, you can't go in there and say, my name is anonymous and I'll give you my address, but I'm not going to give you my phone number and email address. I mean, nobody in their right mind, no organization in their right mind would say, sure, no problem. You can become a member of us and not provide more data. And that's where we're at, though.
Right. Well, when we have I mean, over a third of the voters, I think, have their data marked private. I think that's a problem because you think about it. If you signed up and you really were not a valid voter and you signed up, wouldn't you check the box that says all my information's hidden?
Yeah.
Because that's the way to hide, right?
Right. And it's easy. And the bigger those numbers become, the easier it is for, and I don't want to be the conspiracy nut, but I am a little bit. That's how they hide those things. That's how those things happen. That's how ballots get in the wrong hands. And then when they get turned in, you don't know where they came from. That's why I love that we're doing the voter ID.
Yeah, well, my bill simply said if you're going to sign a petition,
right,
then that's a public record.
Yeah,
that's all it says. And people said, well, what if you're in a situation where you were involved in an abuse situation, or maybe you're a judge that can't put out your voter information, and I'm sympathetic to that, but I think that list shouldn't be a third of all the voters.
No, absolutely not. It should maybe be, a 0.1%. I mean, it should be a very small number because, I'm sorry, a third of all the voters aren't victims of violent crime or judges or police or military. They're just not. And to be honest with you, I think even if those people want to participate, they should have the expectation that, look, I'm signing up and I expect the party to tell me when we're going to have meetings. Right? When we're going to have caucus, when we're going to have these important meetings where I can be represented. But the party doesn't get, again, the party doesn't, even the public data, we don't even get the emails or phone numbers. We don't get any of that. The only thing we get is a name and an address. And then if they're withheld, we just get an address. It's crazy.
What's, on that petition thing, what was weird to me is when people made that statement, I said, now wait a minute. So you don't want them you don't want that to be made public, okay, under a grandma request.
Right.
But if that person signs a petition from a paid signature gathering firm, they get the address.
They get the information. Yeah.
Right. And what do they do with that data?
You know what they do? They offer it to me for a price.
Yeah.
As chair, I get offers all the time. We have this data. It's just cost you this much, but I can't get it, and they're in my own membership.
Yeah, that it seems so odd.
It is.
That's the incentive. And the thing is with voting, the only thing that should be private about your voting is how you voted.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Everything else.
Fully support that.
And I would be supportive of saying, that there's a need to know. Mm-hmm. Right? Well, who has a need to know? Other candidates have a right to know, right? The party has a right to know.
Yeah,
right.
Especially when we're talking about primaries.
Have a right to know,
yeah.
Right? Who has the right to know? And I would say that the people that get the data are the ones that I'd probably put on the list that said, no, they shouldn't have the right to know that, right?
Yeah.
If you're really worried about people's privacy.
Absolutely. And look, I'm in data protection. That's what I do for a living. I've seen what other companies have. They have all this data. The government and the party are not the problem. The real problem are all these other organizations.
Well, tell me just a little bit about that.
Yeah.
So one of your jobs professionally is to go into companies and say, look, you've got all this information. Here's how we can help you protect it.
Correct. Yep. So when I see that data and I walk in, I cringe at how much big data, how much information they have about every individual. As if the party had that much information, it would transform what we do. We don't. We have very little. But these companies have massive amounts of data. I absolutely believe that we need laws that force them to explain what data they have and why, and make that public. Because I think if the public understood, it would be a very different.
Yeah, that might be something to run in a bill. Hey, we're going to take a break and we'll come right back. Welcome back to PoliticIt. We've got Chris Null with us, and Chris, during the break we were talking a little bit about going back to that notion of the convention system and the caucus system. We're a constitutional republic.
Yes.
And to me, and I'm passionate about this, this is the greatest example of that.
Yeah. And
I don't understand how things happened the way they did. I know we have problems, but what's our path forward?
Well, first,
and let's talk about this. The idea that this really is the constitutional republic version.
Yeah, it is. Every individual has the opportunity. The only requirement to participate is to show up. That's Rob Axon, the state chair, says this all the time. I love the way he puts it. The only hindrance is showing up, right? So and look, I get it. Some people, we have jobs, and we get busy, and some people can't show up. That's why you nominate your neighbor who you trust the most to represent you. And then they say, oh, well, but that person may not be representative of me. They're a little bit crazy. Okay, well then show up and talk to your other neighbors and have that conversation and find out who does represent you the best. The thing is, you have that ability, and it's something that doesn't exist anywhere. Really, it doesn't exist anywhere in the country anymore, hardly. There used to be 11 states that had a caucus convention system that provided this representation. I think we're down to just 1 or 2, and that's it. Utah has something that's unique and it's precious, and we need to make sure that we keep it.
Well, and I've been involved in it. You talked about Keep My Voice. I mean, I was involved in that process. In fact, it's kind of what got me interested in politics.
Yeah, same here.
I had no desire really to get involved. But I got passionate about that and some of the things we were doing. But one of the things I know is the outside, they'll say, well, it's just all the radicals. And there are some people you might put in that category, but most of the people are just good individuals that want to have a better government.
Yeah, and that's something that people forget. You always hear the noise, right? You always hear the noise, and I agree. A lot of people say, "Well, I show up, and there's this loud guy or whatever loud woman who takes over the meeting." Okay, well, don't let them, right? Don't let them. Show up, represent yourself. You have an opportunity, but if you don't show up, guess what? Those are the people who are going to represent. So don't let that happen. I served a mission in Chile. And one of the things I watched them go through the political process in an election one time. And I was amazed at how every single person voted. And I said, I asked some of the people that I lived around, I said, why does everybody participate? Well, because we have to. I said, oh, okay. So does everybody do the research? No, we vote for that person. That's a very different. Here we are. We have the opportunity to sit down, discuss with our neighbors what our needs are, how it affects our neighborhoods, how it affects our families. And then we can go, nominate a delegate who will then, or elect a delegate who will then nominate somebody to represent our principles, and then they go forward and run. Now you've got this unity behind our ideas and our principles going into the election, and somebody that we can get behind. But we're not using this tool as much as we should, as effectively as we should, mainly because we, be honest, sometimes we get well, I don't want to say lazy. We get busy, right? But that's why the system works the way it does, is so that we can have somebody else do that for us.
Well, and it's so nice. I think, honestly, on a lot of the issues, the delegates get things right.
They do.
I looked at the process up in Morgan County just recently. Well, it's actually, in Kerr Berkland's district, with the special election that came up. When Representative Berkland decided that she was going to resign. I went in there with some definite people in mind.
Preconceived ideas, right?
Right.
Yeah, same here. Me too.
And I was surprised. I think the delegates got it right.
I think so too. I think they did a fantastic job. They took
someone that was really kind of unknown.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
And isn't that great that it can be an unknown person, but I think that most delegates, they look at the principle, the underlying principle. I can't remember which candidate it was. She would come in and she would talk about, this is how I make my decisions. It was Mia Love. Uh-huh. and I'd listened to it. The first time I was a delegate, Mia Love starts explaining her, her thinking and things and how she does things. And I was just so impressed. And of course, she was already kind of popular at the time and things, but that was the opportunity to sit there and actually listen to that. And then I would hear her competitors and how our competitors would promise that they'd vote a certain way. And that's not what we're here for. We're here to look at the principle behind your vote, not to tell me, don't promise me a vote. Tell me what your principle is behind that vote. That's what I want to hear. And the delegates do that. They love that.
Well, look at the race with Mike Kennedy. I mean, he spent less money.
I love Mike Kennedy
than the other candidates, but I think he connected with people on a personal level, and let's face it, I mean, he's one of my favorites.
Yeah, me too.
But they got that right. Mm-hmm. And does that mean the other people shouldn't have been there? No, I'm not. But I hear this about, well, the delegates are this or they're that. I just don't.
I love the delegates.
I do too.
That's why, and I don't want to bring up a raw subject, but there was a certain person who spoke poorly about our delegates at the last convention. That infuriated me. And I am one who tries to stay back. I feel like the party chair's responsibility is to take the framework that we're given and implement it, make it happen. It's not how I feel about a certain vote. It's how the delegates feel. And I want to amplify their voice because their voice represents the membership of the party. But when this individual said the things that were said, I loved our delegates. I think our delegates work incredibly hard. And to disparage them in the way that it was done, I couldn't. That was probably the one time where I really had a hard time going back.
Hey, I personally think it was one of the biggest political mistakes that I've seen.
I think so too.
In all the time that I've been in.
Yep.
And the voters voted the way they did, right? But I think that was a race that should have garnered 70% of the vote.
If that had not happened, I guarantee you that at least two would have come out from convention, and then they would have gone, to the primary, and we would have had probably a similar result. But that's not what happened because we had a single winner come out because of everything that happened. And, so whatever. But to your point, though, the delegates, they work hard. I love them. It's amazing the conversations I get to have with these delegates and how much thought they put into the work that they're doing and how dedicated they are. Now, that's not true with every delegate. It's true. There's delegates who don't work and they show up the day of, and we've got to fix that as a party, but it's because we need more participation.
Well, one of the reasons why I really wanted to talk to you on the podcast is that you represent a county that's really the battleground of Utah, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it, if there's any place where there are competitive races on both sides of the aisle, it's your county.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right, and so you have a feel for what we should be doing as a party.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I take? I've got a story.
I'd like to hear your story.
This is really interesting. So one of the first things I had to do was, as party chair, is I had to figure out a place to put our data and to help understand and analyze it, things like that, right? And so we got this new system in place, and it was a lot of work. First thing I did was I said, let's map where all of our delegates live. And I had this little map that showed up, and it had little pins for every delegate. And something I thought was crazy interesting was at least 2/3 of our delegates were in the upper half of Salt Lake County. Now, if anybody knows Salt Lake County, the reddest portion of Salt Lake County is down south. But the delegates, 3/4 of them, 2/3 of them, I should say, were up north, where there's less Republicans. And a light went off. These party switchers that we keep talking about, all these things, the reason they exist is because we're representing the county wrong. So we made some changes in November 2023 to be able to reallocate the delegates more equally. So one delegate should represent approximately the same number of Republicans throughout the county. But what was happening is we were doing it by precinct, and there was a lot more precincts up north, and we had to assign one delegate to every precinct, even if it meant it was only one person in that precinct, one Republican in that precinct. It was a nightmare of a problem, but we solved it in 2023, and we were able to redistribute so that the delegates truly represent similar number of Republicans throughout the county. So that was one thing I feel really
just from the data you could
just
see.
From the data, yeah, from being able to see.
So what do you think drove that?
The problem. So it was just archaic understanding. It was something that over the years, there was a formula that was used over the years that just no longer became relevant in our day and age with our growth we have in Salt Lake County. And the Democrats tend to live in the more high density areas, which was more up north. And so these are the things that I'm witnessing happen. And I realized we have to fix this, and we have to fix it now. We did fix it at the county level. We're working on things to do it statewide too. So, because it's going to happen in other counties.
Let me ask you about something.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can comment or not, but I've had Rochelle Morris on my podcast several times. I thought she was a great candidate. I was I just, that was a puzzling thing to me about the way that came out.
Yeah.
Right. I thought she was going to do better than she did.
I thought so too, to be perfectly honest. I thought I knew it would be tough. I never believed it would be an easy win or anything like that. I knew it'd be tough, but I thought she was going to do better. I thought she was going to win it. And yeah, a number of things came into play last minute that we didn't necessarily anticipate. The Democrats outspend us huge
In that
Salt Lake
race.
County, in all of Salt Lake County.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's crazy how much we don't get the donations from the party membership because they're a super majority. What do we care? That's what everybody thinks, right? But that's not how it works. The Democrats,
Well, hey, I know
hundreds of thousands more.
I know in my race they dumped a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. And it puzzled me why they did it. I know from an ideological standpoint,
We were
for
a
some
target.
reason for some reason the Democrats didn't like me very well.
I don't know why. You have some conservative views that I don't know.
But it's interesting how and I just wondered if some of this I don't know, how do we fix this problem in our party where nobody I mean I couldn't believe it in my campaign. I wasn't just getting attacked by the left. I was getting attacked by what I would term the far right. Right?
I hate using that term, but I understand what you're saying. And
I don't know how to explain that term.
Well,
right?
Somebody used the term flamethrowers, right? They're angry because they feel like the party hasn't done enough. But what they're really seeing is they're seeing the people who are I call them the party switchers, right? The people who come to they feel like the Democrat Party or whatever or the party they belong to doesn't have a true voice, so they come to the Republican Party and they try to inch us the other direction. The flamethrowers are the people who say they're saying the right thing. I agree with them 99% of the time.
Me too.
Yeah,
that's what, I mean, my expression back to them is, my gosh, if you can run to the right of me and win,
right,
you deserve the seat.
Right, yeah.
Right?
I agree. And the problem is they always want to win with a Hail Mary. Always. And look, I've been involved long enough to know that you've got 4 downs. You've got to take every down and you got to inch towards that goal line before you're going to get that touchdown. And the Hail Marys, if you're trying to throw the ball every single time across the whole field to win it, you're going to lose more than you're going to win. And so, I don't know, maybe I'm old, whatever, but the flamethrowers, they're excited for the right reason. It's their approach. Their approach needs some work. And
don't you think it kind of pushes people away from the party?
It does.
And we got to get people back together. People were mad at me because when Governor Cox came back on to supporting Trump, I thought, that's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
I am so happy about that. Right?
You got to thank him for that, right?
Oh, I'm going to give people
that's what I said.
When they do the things that I really like.
If he does it and then we push him way more, why would he ever do it again?
Right. And the thing is, I think that was a very unifying message.
Absolutely.
Right. He was trying to unify the party. And it's sad that when people do the right thing, we still go after them.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And look, I mean, there's so many situations like that. And I say, look, I'm a believer in Christ. I believe in repentance, and anybody can repent, including the way you voted, or the way that you've
or some
supported.
Statement that you made, right?
Exactly, 100%. I will always accept that because I want to bring you to my side. I don't want to just say, oh, you're evil and push you away. That's the wrong approach. We'll never win that way. And so, yeah, I mean, sometimes it feels gross. It feels frustrating because of something they said in the past, but we got to get over it and we got to unify at some point.
Well, I mean, one of the examples I gave is on DEI that I was really involved in, right? I mean, you think about it. I came in, the governor in his first period of time put forward this Utah Compact on DEI.
Yeah.
Almost everybody signed it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I come in and drop a bomb on it. I mean, people in the legislature weren't real happy with me.
Yeah.
But you know what? It was the right thing to do. And you know what? Governor Cox figured out that it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think he did.
And had he not replaced the whole higher ed board, Had he not, there were a lot of things that he did that made it possible to unwind that.
Yeah.
He deserves credit for that.
He does. And we've got to give him the space to say, yeah, let's fix it. Like, yeah, it was a mistake, right? If we don't give them the space, if we don't give politicians and our neighbors and everybody space to correct things, we're just always going to be at odds with each other. And so I absolutely agree with you on that.
Yeah, we really do have to give people space to recognize maybe another direction's better. I mean, it was just like on the Trump. Was that the right thing? I am glad.
Yeah.
That he did what he did.
For whatever reason, I'm glad. Yeah.
Right. And so I think we need some work, and you know, I hate to say, let's bring the party together.
Right.
It's especially true for you in Salt Lake County, right?
Yeah.
Because we need everybody rowing the same direction.
We do. I have a special problem in Salt Lake County, which I keep calling the party switchers. And I have a theory about that. I think we've incentivized them to come to the party, and I think we need to de-incentivize them to be in the party. And I have some theories on how to do that. Let's just say that if I'm a Democrat and I'm not pro-life, I'm pro-choice, right? Let's just say that, and something were to be an opportunity were to be given to me to donate towards pro-life in my name, I'm probably going to shy away from that. And if it meant my name being on the voter rolls as a Republican, that a donation was put out there in my name, I'm probably going to remove my name, right?
Yeah.
That's a way to de-incentivize them being a part of the party. There's a lot of issues. There's not just pro-life. There's Second Amendment, things like that we could use to accomplish this. And I think we need to de-incentivize them from being in the party because they don't want to be here to promote our ideas. They want to be there to promote their ideas. So let's reverse this.
And to cause
disruption.
Right.
Yeah.
Disruption.
And by the way, I love the people who are coming to the party because they feel the party represents them better than the Democrat Party. That's a different story.
Right.
It's the people who come to the Republican Party who don't believe in our principles, who are here to disrupt our party. That is the problem.
But we've also got Republicans that are more moderate. Those people
exactly
agree with us.
Yeah, the Reagan rule. Yeah,
yeah. If someone's agreeing with you 80% of the time, they're probably your friend, not your enemy.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And even though I think things have switched, I mean, one of the things I noticed at the convention that was interesting to me is the Republican Party is no longer the party of let's say, for lack of a better term, the country club Republicans.
Oh yeah,
right.
It's changing overnight.
Right.
Yeah, and we're demilitarizing the party. Is what I like to see. Right. That's another thing.
Think about what Trump has done.
Yeah.
Bobby Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard.
Isn't that crazy?
And Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Right. And J.D. Vance. Right.
It's a whole new world in the Republican Party.
You think about J.D. Vance. Right. This is a perfect example of representing the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Main Street, not Wall Street.
Yeah.
Right?
I love it too, because the thing is over time. So I was from Arizona. We talked about, I grew up there. John McCain. I was so frustrated with John McCain. And then I come here and it was Mitt Romney, right? And that's the tradition. And the frustration I had was the militarization, the support of the military, not the military. The industrial. Exactly. I love the military. Right. It was the industrial complex of them, that they were supporting, and I was really frustrated by that and some other things. And I think what we're seeing now is recognition that that's not what we should be doing. We need to be representing the individuals. Yes, we've got to be a strong nation that is able to defend ourselves and things, but we shouldn't be creating this synthetic industry of military.
Well, look at Pete Hegseth.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an example of it, right?
Yeah.
He probably is not the pro-military industrial complex guy.
No, right? I don't think that's not the impression I get.
He cares about the individuals in the military.
Yeah, he's doing it right. Yeah, and what a story too for him to his life story. He's a normal guy. I mean, yes, he went through some really tough things. Who hasn't? I mean, we've experienced things in my family that are really tough, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually relieved to have a real person who has experienced some and overcome some tough things in their life to now be leading. I love it.
We're out of time.
Yeah.
But one of the things I want to ask you, though, is what advice do you have for me being in the legislature, given your experience, right, at Salt Lake County? The Salt Lake County, right? I call it the belly of the beast, but it's the battleground in Utah.
Yeah.
What advice do you give to me in the legislature of things that we can do to improve our process?
I think, number one, look at the party as a partner. There are people in the party who want to help, who want to let them be your advisors. I'm not talking about the flamethrowers. I'm talking about the strong delegate party members who are involved. Listen to them, pay attention to them, talk to them. And I'll say one thing, Christy Henshaw, who's the chair of Utah County Party, she's putting together these, and I forget the legislative, I forget what they're called. But anyway, she's putting together these groups where they talk about different issues. Listen to those groups. They're amazing. They're smart people, and they do represent their neighborhoods. And just be a partner with the party. And don't try to tell the party. I know you don't, but some of the legislators do. Try to tell the party how they should run because of the way you want the outcome to come. That's not what it's about. The outcome should be based on principle, and we should be communicating and partnering with the party.
Rob Axon, I think, has done an excellent job statewide. You think about their approach after the convention of supporting the convention candidates.
Yeah,
doing exactly what he was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the kind of vitriol he got within the party.
Yeah, Rob helped me make it possible to put out. So the big thing for me was put out that flyer after convention showing the results of the convention. To me, that was everything, because again, I wanted to amplify the voice of the delegates, which represents the party membership. We got that out because Rob helped us. And so I'm very proud that we were able to do that. And I really appreciate Rob's help to make that happen.
And there were some of the candidates that personally, I know one that's his best friend,
mm-hmm.
and he still did what he should have done as the head of the party.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And
oh yeah. It just occurred to me what you're talking about. Yes, absolutely. He did what was right despite what his personal, and that's how I am.
And
despite my personal opinion,
say the results came out in a very good way.
That flyer, I believe, boosted every convention winner by about 15% in Salt Lake County. And again, thanks to Rob and his team for helping us make that happen.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate what you've done in Salt Lake County. I'm kind of sad that you're term limiting out. I hope we see your involvement.
Yeah, I'll be around.
Very good. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
Thank you.